You've been asking for money, but what if I told you the money is already prepared, waiting for you to take this one step? You have been asking for money. You have prayed for it, worked for it, hoped for it, worried over it, and even cried for it. And yet, for all your effort, it has seemed to keep its distance, hovering somewhere beyond reach, arriving in small drips instead of the overflowing river you have imagined. But I tell you now, the money is already prepared. It is not in the making, it is finished. It is not far off, it is waiting. And it will appear the moment you align yourself with the law that governs its release. This law does not operate by toil or bargaining. It operates by agreement with the divine source of all supply. In the next 90 minutes, I will tell you the exact step I took, the one shift that broke the dam and caused my supply to rush in like a flood. And before we are done, you will not only understand it, you will speak it, you will act upon it, and you will watch as the money moves toward you in ways you could never have orchestrated on your own. Listen to me carefully. The world has lied to you about money. It has told you that it comes only by relentless effort, by climbing over others, by bending yourself into shapes you were never meant to take. It has told you that you must wait for it, chase it, or compromise for it. But the truth is simpler, more generous, and more immediate than you have dared to believe. The truth is that money is an obedient servant of divine law, and the moment you give it the right command, it moves. The lie is that you must move toward it. The truth is that it moves toward you. So I make my declaration now, and I ask you to make it with me. I receive my supply now by divine law. Not tomorrow, not when the check clears, not when the economy improves. Now, because divine law knows no waiting, and God's abundance knows no shortage. This is the declaration that will frame everything we speak of today. This is the banner over your life from this moment forward. Every story I tell you, every principle I explain, every command I give you will be anchored in this truth. Your supply is here now, and by divine right, it is yours. I will take you step by step through the law that brought my money into view. I will show you the invisible levers that control the visible results. I will hand you the same key I used to open the vault door of supply. But you must be willing to lay aside the world's script for how money comes and learn the rules of the real game, the game that God designed, where faith speaks, the law responds, and the supply appears without strain. If you will walk with me in this, the same law that worked for me will work for you. And when you act upon it, you will be able to say with the same certainty I have now, the money appeared after I did this. The law that made my money appear is the law of the spoken word, and it is not a quaint phrase for the sentimental. It is the creative principle of the universe. Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, is not poetic advice. It is a precise formula for manifestation. Everything you see in your life right now, every dollar you hold or lack, every account that overflows or stands empty, is the result of words you have spoken, whether aloud to others or silently to yourself. Your words are not idle. They are orders given to the invisible substance from which your world is formed. The money that has eluded you has not been hiding from you. It has been obeying the pattern you have set for it with your tongue. If you have called it scarce, it has withdrawn. If you have named it hard to get, it has taken the long way to reach you. But the moment you give it a new name, the moment you command it as one who knows the law, it must take on the form you decree. The spoken word is the switch that turns on the current of divine supply. Think of your financial life as a vast electrical system. The source, God's unlimited abundance, is always on, always flowing, always available. But if the switch is set to lack, nothing flows to you. If the switch is set to delay, the current trickles, and you call it waiting. If the switch is set to fear, the lights go out entirely. The switch is not turned by effort or by wishing, it is turned by declaration. When I changed my words from describing my need to affirming my supply, I threw the switch, and the current rushed in. This is why I say to you, stop speaking about what you do not have, and begin speaking as though the thing you desire is already in your possession. not as a pretense, but as a statement of spiritual fact. The world tells you to face reality, but I tell you to face truth, and truth is higher than reality. Reality is what you see. Truth is what God has decreed, and God has decreed your abundance. Therefore, your word must agree with His word if you would see it take form in your life. When I stood in the place of financial emptiness and declared, I receive my supply now by divine law, I was not begging heaven for a favor. I was issuing the lawful command that set every needed arrangement in motion. Within hours, messages arrived, opportunities opened, and channels I had never considered began to flow with money. This is not coincidence, it is causation. The law responds without delay to the words spoken in faith. You may have been speaking the wrong word for years without realizing it, narrating your lack, confessing your fears, and rehearsing your delays. But the moment you reverse that word, the moment you throw the switch, the power surges in your favor. And when you keep it switched on, when you refuse to contradict your declaration, the flow becomes steady, and what once seemed like miracles becomes your new normal. So fix this image in your mind. Your tongue is the master switch of your finances. Every time you speak, you are either turning on the current or cutting it off. Every time you affirm abundance, the lights grow brighter. Every time you agree with lack, the room grows dim. Choose now to live in the light. Choose now to decree only what you want, established in your affairs. For the money is already prepared, and the moment you give the right command, it will appear. Now I will tell you exactly how to use this law in the heat of the moment, when the pressure is on, when the bill is due, when the need feels urgent and the mind is tempted to panic. For it is in those moments that the power of the spoken word proves itself most vividly. You must not wait until your circumstances are comfortable to exercise your authority. You must speak your victory in the very midst of the challenge. When I found myself staring at a financial obligation that seemed impossible to meet, I did not rehearse my worry. I did not calculate from my bank balance. I did not cry out for rescue. I stood still and declared aloud, I have received the money for my immediate need. It is mine now. I said it as though it were the most undeniable truth in existence. I said it until my body felt the certainty of it, until my mind stopped darting to how and when and through whom, until the words had filled every corner of my consciousness. This is the command I call the money sentence, for it addresses the law directly and leaves no room for delay. It is not "I will receive" that pushes your supply into a future that never arrives. It is not "I need" that centers your thought on the lack itself. It is "I have received," past tense in form but present tense in spiritual fact, followed by the clear designation "for my immediate need," which fixes the purpose, and the sealing phrase, "It is mine now," which shuts the door on all postponement. When you speak in this way, you are not asking the law to consider your case. You are delivering the verdict and ordering the execution of it. I urge you to use this command exactly as given, without adding conditions or softening the edges to accommodate doubt. Do not say, "if it is God's will," for God's will is abundance for His children, and to question that is to insult the source. Do not add "in time," for the time is now. The law moves at the speed of your acceptance, and acceptance is always immediate when you are in faith. Speak the command once with full conviction, then continue to affirm it quietly whenever your mind begins to wander toward fear. You will feel a shift within, an almost physical release, as though the burden has been lifted off your shoulders and placed into hands far more capable than yours. That release is the sign that the law has taken up your case and is arranging the perfect channel for your money to appear. The first time I spoke this command in the midst of urgent need, I did so without a shred of evidence that it could work, only with the authority of the law behind me. Before the day was over, the exact amount required arrived through a channel I could never have engineered, and I have seen it work for others again and again. Men and women who dared to speak the money sentence in the very moment their senses told them it was impossible, only to see the supply rush in as though it had been waiting behind a door for their signal to enter. This is not imagination, nor is it coincidence. It is divine law in motion, and the one who knows how to give the right command will never be left in lack. So I say to you, the next time the need stands before you, speak as one who already holds the answer. Declare without trembling, I have received the money for my immediate need. It is mine now. Then watch, without strain, as the law fulfills exactly what you have spoken. There is a subtle but deadly habit that keeps many from ever seeing their spoken word take form. They live in a posture of waiting rather than receiving. Waiting sounds harmless. It even sounds pious, as though one is patiently enduring until God chooses to act. But in the language of the law, waiting is a declaration that you do not yet have, and the law is obliged to keep that condition intact until your word changes. You can pray fervently for supply and yet cancel your own demonstration every time you say, I'm still waiting for the money to come. That phrase, harmless as it may seem, fixes your good in the realm of not yet, and the law will not violate your decree. To move from waiting to receiving, you must change the entire stance of your consciousness. You must speak, act, and think from the position of one who already has the thing in hand. This does not mean pretending in a shallow way. It means aligning with the spiritual fact that your good exists now in the invisible and is simply moving into visibility. When you declare, the money is here now, you are stepping into the vibration of having, and having always attracts more to itself. Having says to the law, I am the rightful possessor, and my possession is secure, and the law rushes to confirm it. Waiting says, I do not yet have, and I must remain without until some future point, and the law will keep you in that posture indefinitely. I learned this truth when I caught myself praying with great feeling and then walking away with the thought, I wonder how long it will take for this to happen. In that moment, I realized I was planting my seed in fertile soil and then digging it up every few hours to see if it had sprouted. No harvest could come from such treatment. The harvest only comes when you plant, water, and leave it to grow, knowing it is already working beneath the surface. In the same way, you must speak your financial decree, give thanks for its fulfillment, and then live the rest of your day in the attitude of one who has already received. I replaced I'm waiting for the money with the money is here now, and within days, channels that had been blocked began to open. Opportunities I had dismissed as closed came back to life. People I had not heard from in years reached out with exactly the assistance I required. It was as though the very atmosphere had shifted in my favor, and in truth, it had, because my word had shifted first. The money had been circling me all along, but it could not land while my declaration kept the runway closed. When I changed my statement, I turned on the landing lights, and the law brought my supply directly to my door. So I tell you, stop holding your good in tomorrow. Call it into today. Each time you catch yourself saying, I'm waiting, stop and correct it immediately. Say instead, the money is here now. I have received it, and I see it manifesting. Let that become the constant refrain of your mind and the unshakable tone of your speech. In time, you will find that waiting is not part of your vocabulary at all. You will live in a continual state of receiving, and in that state, money will come to you often, easily, and in greater measure than you ever thought possible. Faith without preparation is like planting a seed and refusing to till the soil. Yes, the life is in the seed, but you have given it no place to grow. The law of preparation is as much a part of financial demonstration as the spoken word, for by preparing, you prove to your subconscious and to the infinite law itself that you expect your good. Expectation is not a vague feeling, it is action. It is moving the furniture of your affairs to make room for the new. When I was led to speak my word for a specific sum of money, I did not simply wait for it to arrive. I began at once to arrange my life as if it were already here. I opened accounts to receive it. I organized my records as one who handles abundance. I cleared the physical and mental clutter that would choke its flow. And I tell you, the very act of preparing seemed to stir the atmosphere, to signal to the law that the landing strip was clear, the table was set, the storehouse was ready to be filled. Preparation is the material counterpart to the spiritual decree. It says to the unseen, I am not merely wishing for this, I am certain it is mine, and I will not be caught unready when it appears. Scripture tells us, faith without works is dead. The works are not the cause of your supply, but they are the evidence of your faith in its coming. If you declare, my wealth flows to me now, and yet you leave your financial affairs in disorder, you are giving mixed signals to the law. The subconscious takes your actions as seriously as your words, and when your words say, I am ready, but your actions say, I expect nothing, the law will hold back in obedience to the stronger message. I recall a woman who desired a larger home but kept her belongings in a cramped and disordered state, telling herself she would organize once she moved. I told her, begin now, pack boxes for the move as if the date were already set. Within a week of clearing and preparing, she received an unexpected offer that matched the very home she had been picturing. The preparation had not created the home, it had created her readiness, and readiness is the magnet for manifestation. So I ask you, if you are speaking your word for money, where will that money go when it arrives? Will it flow into a prepared channel, or will it spill into the cracks of unready living? Prepare a place for it now. Open the account, organize the workspace, clear the debt you can, file the documents, make the calls. Do whatever corresponds in the outer to what you have spoken in the inner. This is not desperation. This is demonstration. The law delights in filling the vessel you offer, but it will not force a gift into a hand that remains closed. Stretch out your hand now in readiness, and you will see how quickly the law fills it. For just as surely as the table set before the feast will not remain empty, the storehouse prepared in faith will not stand vacant for long. To make room for money is more than a poetic idea. It is a deliberate, practical, and spiritual act that clears the channels through which supply must flow. Many speak their word for abundance, while their lives are so filled with the debris of past mistakes, unresolved accounts, and emotional clutter that there is no space for the new to enter. The law will not force its blessings into a space already occupied. It moves with the grace and order of divine intelligence, seeking the open channel, the ready container, the uncluttered field. When I determined to bring a new flow of money into my life, I understood that I must become a welcoming host for that flow. I began by looking at my financial environment with honest eyes, every account, every drawer, every corner of my life where money touched. I asked myself, if money were a guest, would it find my home ready and inviting, or would it turn away at the door? I cleared space physically, throwing out what was broken or unused, organizing what remained with care, settling the small financial obligations that hung like cobwebs in the corners of my affairs. I gave away items I no longer needed, not as a loss, but as a gesture of circulation, for money is part of the same divine current as every other form of supply, and the law of circulation says that as you release, you receive. I examined my records, brought them up to date, and placed them in order because order is the atmosphere in which abundance feels at home. And as I worked in the outer, I spoke in the inner. My financial storehouses are now filled to overflowing. I am a perfect steward of unlimited wealth. My affairs are in divine order, and my supply is constant and ever increasing. This was not drudgery. It was a consecration. With every cleared surface and balanced account, I felt the subtle shift within me from hoping to expecting. I was no longer calling to money from a distance. I was preparing a place for it beside me, and the law, ever faithful, began to respond. Unexpected checks arrived, opportunities for additional income appeared, and the very atmosphere of my life felt richer, more spacious, more magnetic. You must understand, making room for money is not only about what you remove, it is about the signal you send. Disorganization and neglect tell the subconscious, I cannot handle more, and the law will not burden you with what you cannot hold. But order, cleanliness, and readiness declare, I am capable, I am trustworthy, I am prepared for increase, and the law delights to pour into such a vessel. So begin today. Make room in your home, your accounts, your schedule, and your mind. Remove what no longer serves, arrange what remains with the care of one expecting a guest of honor, and speak your readiness aloud. The money that appears will not be an intruder. It will be a welcomed and honored arrival, stepping into a space you have prepared with faith and expectation. Every structure of lack in your life has at its center a single belief that holds it together, a master thought around which all lesser thoughts arrange themselves like bricks in a wall. This is what I call the kingpin poverty thought, and until you identify and remove it, you may find yourself endlessly patching cracks while the whole fortress of limitation remains standing. The kingpin is often so ingrained, so familiar, that you mistake it for truth itself. It may have been inherited from your family, absorbed from the world around you, or formed in response to past experiences, but it is not a decree from God. It is an impostor that has occupied the throne of your consciousness, and like any ruler, it governs all that falls under its domain. If your kingpin thought is, money is hard to come by, then no matter how many affirmations you speak, they will be filtered through that belief and weakened before they can take form. The first step is to uncover it, and this requires an unflinching honesty with yourself. Ask, when I think of having more money, what is the first unguarded thought that rises up? Do not dress it in pious language or cover it with polite phrases. Listen for the raw, unfiltered response. Perhaps it says, "It never works out for me," or "I'll always be in debt," or "People like me can't get ahead." That is your kingpin. It is the root from which the branches of financial struggle grow. Once you have identified it, you must refuse to let it reign another day. The kingpin cannot be reasoned with, it must be replaced. Replacement is the work of conscious, repeated, and unwavering declaration. If your kingpin says, "Money is scarce," your new ruler must decree, "Money comes to me easily and often from many perfect channels." If it says, "I'm not good with money," your new decree must be, "I am a wise and capable steward of great wealth." If it says, "I never have enough," you must enthrone the truth, "My supply is endless, immediate, and always sufficient for my every need." These are not idle words. They are commands to the subconscious, orders that reorganize the unseen substance of your affairs until the outer matches the inner. When I confronted my own kingpin thought, I realized it had been the quiet saboteur of many demonstrations. I had spoken for increase, but deep within I still carried the shadow of, "You must struggle for every dollar." Once I replaced it with, "Money flows to me in perfect, effortless ways," I began to see a remarkable shift. Channels that had long been dry began to flow, opportunities that had seemed out of reach drew near, and the constant undercurrent of strain in my financial life dissolved. Removing the kingpin thought was like pulling the linchpin from a locked gate. The barrier fell, and the way was open. So I say to you, find the thought that holds your lack in place. Do not fear it, for it has no power once it is exposed. Replace it with a decree that is as absolute as God's own word, and guard that decree with your life. For when the kingpin of poverty is removed, the whole fortress crumbles, and in its place rises the free and open field of abundance, ready for you to build upon it every good thing your heart has desired. For the next 7 days, I give you a challenge that will reveal more about your relationship with money than any amount of theory. You are to speak no word of lack, not one phrase of, "I can't afford," not a single murmur of, "There's not enough," not even the smallest joke about being broke. For 7 days, your tongue is to become a channel only for truth, only for abundance, only for the law that gives increase. You may think this simple, but you will quickly discover how deeply the language of lack has woven itself into your speech. It slips into conversations without thought. It hides in the casual replies you give to friends. It disguises itself as humor or modesty. Yet each time you utter it, you are issuing a command to the law, and the law obeys. Words are seeds, and the soil of your subconscious grows whatever is planted, without question, without delay. For these 7 days, you will become the vigilant guardian at the gate of your own mouth. When the impulse comes to voice lack, stop it instantly and replace it with the word of truth. If you would have said, "I can't afford that," say instead, "I choose to spend my money wisely and I always have more than enough." If you would have said, "I'm broke until payday," replace it with, "My supply is continuous and money comes to me in perfect timing." This is not pretending, it is reprogramming. You are training your mind and tongue to speak only the reality you desire, not the illusion you wish to be free from. In the first day or two, you may feel clumsy, catching yourself mid-sentence, struggling to find the words of truth to replace the old phrases. But by the third or fourth day, something remarkable will begin to happen. Your mind will anticipate the correction before the words even leave your lips. You will feel a subtle shift, as though you have stepped into a different current, one that moves faster, smoother, and with less effort. Conversations will take on a different tone, as if you are no longer feeding the heaviness that once hung over your finances. And perhaps without warning, you will see the first demonstrations. A bill paid more easily than expected, an unexpected gift, a small sum arriving from an unlikely source. These are the early signs that the channels are clearing. I have given this challenge to many, and those who have kept it faithfully for the full 7 days have often seen breakthroughs so swift they could only be called miraculous. Though in truth, it is not miracle but law. When you stop voicing lack, you stop ordering it into your life. When you speak only abundance, you invite it to take root and grow. At the end of your 7 days, you will know something you may never have known before. You have the power to shape your financial world simply by choosing what you allow to pass your lips. And once you have tasted the freedom of that control, you will never again waste your breath on a word that works against your good. The law of non-resistance is one of the most liberating truths you will ever apply to your finances, for it dissolves the friction and struggle that so often choke the flow of money. Resistance is the inner no you give to life. It is the tightness in your chest when a bill arrives, the anger you feel toward an employer, the resentment toward a client, the dread of obligations. You may think these reactions are harmless, but they are signals to the law, and the law responds by tightening the channels through which your supply might come. "Agree with thine adversary quickly," said Jesus, not because you are to approve of wrong, but because agreement neutralizes the energy of opposition. When you release your resistance, you release the dam, and the river of supply can run freely once more. I learned this in a season when money was delayed again and again, each payment met with some new excuse or obstacle. I resisted with all my might, complaining, fretting, imagining worst-case scenarios. And with each act of resistance, I could feel the tension in my affairs increase. Then one morning, in the stillness of prayer, I heard the words clearly. "Let it go." I spoke aloud. "I agree with divine law in this situation. I bless all involved and release my resentment. My supply is unaffected and comes in perfect ways." In that moment, I felt the strain break, like a rope snapping under too much pull. Within 48 hours, the money arrived, not from the source I had been resisting, but through a different, effortless channel. Non-resistance is not passivity, it is mastery. It does not mean you become careless or indifferent. It means you refuse to entangle your energy in opposition. The moment you stop fighting the appearance, you are free to affirm the truth. I am supplied now. This appearance has no power over my good. This truth opens the way for supply to reach you through any number of paths, for the law is never limited to one channel. Think of resistance as building a dam in the river of your good. You pile up stones of anger, fear, blame, and frustration until the water can no longer reach you. Then you wonder why the stream has run dry. Non-resistance is the act of removing those stones one by one, letting the water rush toward you unhindered. The bill is not your adversary, the fear behind it is. The slow-paying client is not your enemy, the resentment you hold is. Release these, and you will be astonished at how quickly the current finds its way back to you. So I tell you now, bless every channel, even those that appear blocked. Speak peace into every situation that seems to oppose your good. Say aloud, there is no obstruction in divine mind. My supply flows to me in perfect ways. Let go of the need to force or demand, for the law does not move by pressure, it moves by alignment. And the one who masters non-resistance will find that money, opportunities, and blessings arrive without strain, as naturally as a river finding its way to the sea. There is a certain boldness required to speak directly to money, and yet this is one of the most effective ways to bring it into your life. Most people speak about money, and when they do, their words are often soaked in complaint, longing, or fear. But money, like every form of supply, responds to recognition. When you personify it, not as a master to whom you must bow, but as a willing servant of divine law, you shift the entire relationship. You stop chasing it as if it were a reluctant prize, and you begin commanding it as one who knows their authority in spirit. I remember standing in a small, dimly lit room, the air heavy with worry over how a pressing expense would be met. The atmosphere felt like a closed door, and in that moment, I turned my attention inward and said aloud, "Money, you are welcome in my life. Appear now in perfect ways." Something in that declaration snapped me out of the posture of begging. I was no longer speaking to an absence. I was summoning a presence. I imagined money as a trusted messenger, already on its way with my answer, needing only my invitation to enter. I pictured it coming from every direction, through every channel, known and unknown, guided unerringly by the law of good. I spoke to it as I would to a friend at my door, telling it, "Come in, you belong here, you are safe here, you are free to move here." The heaviness lifted almost instantly, replaced by a quiet certainty that the matter was already settled. The law does not require such imagery to function, but your subconscious often does. When you address money directly, you bypass the layers of conditioning that see it as distant or difficult. You make it familiar, immediate, and obedient to your will when aligned with divine law. And because the subconscious is literal, it begins at once to arrange your affairs in ways that fulfill the command. The phone rings with unexpected offers, an overdue payment arrives without prompting, a friend repays a debt you had written off. These are the forms in which money, your servant, answers. Do not wait for a crisis to speak to money. Make it a habit. Each morning, declare aloud, "Money, you are welcome in my life. You appear in perfect ways from perfect sources in perfect timing. You bless me, and I bless you, and we serve the purposes of divine good together." In doing this, you anchor yourself in the truth that money is not your adversary, not a capricious visitor, but a faithful companion when called and honored in accordance with the law. And once you have learned to speak to it as such, you will never again feel at the mercy of its comings and goings. You will know that it moves at your word, and your word is rooted in the limitless abundance of God. One of the most damaging phrases you can utter in relation to money is, "I need." It may seem harmless, but in the language of the law, it is a command that cements the very condition you wish to escape. "I need" declares lack, and the law, which is impersonal and perfectly obedient, will continue to mirror that lack until you change your decree. The universe does not respond to what you wish were true. It responds to what you speak as true. When you say, "I need," you are testifying under oath that you do not yet have, and the verdict will always be in agreement with your testimony. To shift this, you must remove need from your vocabulary and replace it with the language of possession. "I have received, I am supplied, it is mine now." This is not denial of the outer picture, it is affirmation of the inner reality. Divine supply exists in the unseen before it appears in the seen, and your word is the bridge between the two. When you speak in terms of having, you are aligning with the completed work in the invisible realm, and the law rushes to make the outer match the inner. I remember a time when a substantial sum was due, and every natural source appeared closed. My old habit would have been to say, I need this amount, and then to rehearse my need with every thought. Instead, I chose the higher law. I walked the floor and declared over and over, I have received the exact amount required. It is here now. I am abundantly supplied by divine law. Within hours, movement began. A forgotten account yielded a refund, a client made an advance payment, and a personal gift arrived, all without my asking a single person for help. This was not magic. It was the result of shifting my word from need to possession. The moment I spoke as one who had, the law began to treat me as one who had. You may feel resistance to this at first, especially if the evidence before you shouts the opposite. But you must remember, you are not here to echo appearances. You are here to speak the truth that changes appearances. Every time you replace I need with I have, you are turning the key in the lock of your demonstration. You are telling the law, deliver to me now what is already mine by divine right. And the law, unerring in its obedience, will comply. I give you this exercise. For 10 minutes each day, speak a litany of I have statements regarding your finances. Say, I have received the money for all my obligations. I have overflowing supply for my desires. I have channels of income that bless and prosper me continually. I have all that I require to live my divine life in joy and freedom. Speak them until they no longer feel like a stretch, until they roll off your tongue with the ease of self-evident fact. In time, you will see the outer evidence of these declarations appearing in your life, and you will understand the profound truth behind the words of Jesus. To him that hath shall be given. The one who speaks from having receives more, while the one who clings to I need remains in the desert of lack. Choose your words, for they are your verdict, and the law will always render judgment according to your decree. For one day, just 24 hours, I want you to step entirely into the life of the prosperous self. This is not a day for pretending or for play acting as though you were someone else. This is a day for conscious embodiment, for fully occupying the state of being that matches the wealth you have spoken into existence. It is the spiritual equivalent of trying on the garment of your answered prayer to ensure it fits perfectly, and in doing so, showing the law that you are ready to keep it. From the moment you rise to the moment you lay your head down, you will think, speak, move, and decide as the version of yourself who already possesses the money, the freedom, the ease that you have been calling forth. If you were already living in that abundance, how would you carry yourself through your day? Would you rise in the morning with heaviness, or would you move with lightness and confidence, knowing that every need was met before you even had to think of it? Would you speak with anxiety about bills and obligations, or would you speak with calm authority, discussing opportunities, blessings, and wise stewardship of the resources you have? Would you shrink from choices because of their price, or would you choose freely, guided only by wisdom and divine rightness? Spend this one day living in the answers to those questions, not as an exercise in fantasy, but as the deliberate act of aligning your outer conduct with your inner decree. I recall a man who had long affirmed prosperity, but whose every movement betrayed a consciousness of lack. His clothes were chosen for their low cost rather than their suitability. His speech was laced with, I can't afford, and his posture was bent under the weight of imagined scarcity. I told him, take tomorrow and live it as though you were already wealthy, not reckless, but rightful. Dress as the prosperous man would dress, walk as he would walk, speak as he would speak. He did, and the next day he told me it was as though an invisible barrier had been removed. People treated him differently. Opportunities arose that had been absent for months, and within weeks he had stepped into a role that doubled his income. This is the power of acting as if, not to fool the world, but to retrain yourself. Your subconscious believes the evidence of your senses, and when you behave as though the thing is already here, it accepts that evidence and sets about making it true. The law does not argue with conviction, it follows it. And nothing communicates conviction more clearly than the choices you make and the way you carry yourself. So I challenge you, choose your day, and on that day, leave behind every trace of the self who lacks. Walk with assurance, speak with gratitude, handle money with dignity, make decisions as though your supply were endless. When doubts whisper, answer them with the truth. This is who I am now. This is my life now. At the end of that day, you will feel a shift, a settling into the role of abundance that no outer circumstance can shake. And from that place, the money must come, for the law will always make the outer match the inner. There comes a moment in every demonstration when words must become the steady pulse of your inner being, repeated not in desperation, but in mastery, spoken until they saturate the very air around you. This is the moment for your affirmation sequence, a rhythm of truth so strong that it overrides every opposing thought, every whisper of doubt, every lingering shadow of the old self. These affirmations are not mere positive statements. They are decrees, each one a living seed that contains the full harvest within it, ready to grow the instant it touches the soil of your consciousness. First, speak. I win in finances by divine right. This is not arrogance. It is alignment with the law that cannot fail. By divine right means you claim nothing that belongs to another, nothing unjust, nothing gained by fear or force. It means your wealth comes through channels of good, leaving only blessing in its wake. Feel the quiet authority of this as you say it, knowing that to win by divine right is to be unshakable, untouchable, and secure. Second, my money is endless and immediate. Endless, because you are connected to the source that cannot be depleted. Immediate, because time is no barrier to divine supply. As you speak it, picture a river that never runs dry, flowing toward you without pause, without waiting for permission, bringing exactly what you require in this moment and more besides. Third, nothing is withheld from me. This affirmation dismantles the hidden belief that something or someone stands between you and your good. It removes the image of the closed door, the locked gate, the withheld reward. It reminds you that in divine mind, all that is yours is already released to you, and there is no power in heaven or earth that can block its arrival. Fourth, I handle my wealth with joy and mastery. This seals the demonstration, for it aligns you not only with receiving, but with sustaining and multiplying. The law gives generously to the one who governs well. See yourself managing your resources with wisdom, giving and receiving with grace, moving through life with the ease of one who knows that abundance is their permanent condition. Speak these four in a steady, unhurried rhythm, allowing each to land fully before moving to the next. You may speak them in the morning to set your day's course, at midday to steady your energy, and at night to seal your mind in prosperity as you rest. The repetition is not mechanical. It is the deepening of truth until it becomes the only thought you can think about your finances. And when that point is reached, the law has no choice but to make it visible, for the inner and the outer must match. Keep this sequence close to you, for it is both the compass and the engine of your financial mastery, guiding you and moving you steadily toward the demonstration you have already claimed. Faith and fearlessness in finances are not luxuries reserved for those who already appear wealthy. They are the essential foundation for anyone who would see money flow freely, continuously, and without strain. Faith is the unwavering conviction that your supply is secure in God's keeping, and fearlessness is the refusal to allow any outer appearance to contradict that conviction. Together, they form an unshakable fortress around your prosperity. Without faith, your spoken word is hollow, easily overturned by the first sign of delay. Without fearlessness, you will speak in faith one moment and undo it the next with anxious worry. But when faith and fearlessness walk hand in hand, the law responds with immediacy and precision. Scripture says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." This is not a poetic wish, it is a legal statement in the courts of divine law. If the Lord is truly your shepherd, then your path is watched over, Your needs are foreseen. Your provision is constant. Want is not part of the covenant. Yet, how often do people declare the Lord as their source while trembling over every bill, shrinking from every investment, or hoarding out of fear that the supply will run dry? This is not faith. It is divided allegiance, and the law will only honor the stronger of the two masters you serve. I recall a time when an unexpected bill arrived, large enough to stir the old reflex of fear that had not troubled me in years. For a moment, I felt the familiar tightening in my chest, the instinct to rehearse the problem in my mind. But I stopped myself and declared aloud, "This changes nothing. My supply is infinite and already covers this in full. I am fearless in the face of appearances. I refuse to shrink, and I refuse to beg." Within 2 days, an overdue payment from a client arrived with an apology for the delay, covering the bill exactly. This was not coincidence. It was the law obeying my fearless faith. Fear is a magnet for the very losses you dread, and faith is a magnet for the gains you desire. The one who fears bills will attract more of them, just as the one who blesses their bills, seeing them as proof of circulation and capacity, will attract the means to pay them with ease. Fear says, "I might not have enough," and the law mirrors that hesitation. Faith says, "I always have more than enough," and the law mirrors that certainty. Fearlessness does not mean recklessness. It means resting so securely in your divine source that no outer disturbance can shake you from the truth. Train yourself to meet every financial challenge with the same calm you would bring to receiving a gift. Speak to every expense, every obligation, every surprise cost as you would to a faithful friend. You are already taken care of. You are part of my perfect circulation, and my supply covers you easily. Refuse to flinch. Refuse to speak words of dread. Hold your ground in faith, and the law will match your stance with a demonstration so exact, so timely, that you will know it could only have come from the alignment of fearless trust with divine abundance. Delay in the manifestation of money is rarely the work of divine withholding. It is most often the result of our own words, thoughts, and unconscious agreements with "not yet." The spell of delay is a quiet but persistent enchantment, woven each time we say, "It's coming," or "I'll have it when." These phrases may sound hopeful, but they are coded commands to the law, fixing our good in a future that never arrives. The law takes us at our word. When you say when, you are binding your supply to a condition or a date, and until that condition is met or that date arrives, the law will not deliver. But here is the liberating truth. The moment you change your decree to now, the law begins moving your supply into visibility without hesitation. I remember a woman who came to me saying she had been affirming for a particular sum for months with no result. I asked her to tell me her affirmation exactly as she spoke it, and she said, "I am expecting this money soon." There was the snare. Soon is always the horizon you can see but never reach. I told her to change her word immediately to, "I have received this money now." It appears in perfect ways and perfect timing, which is always now. She resisted at first, feeling it was dishonest to speak what she could not yet see. But I reminded her, truth is not what appears to the senses. Truth is what exists in the divine pattern, already complete, waiting only for your acceptance. Within a week of changing her words, the sum arrived in a manner so direct and unexpected that she laughed at how long she had kept it at arm's length with her own phrasing. Breaking the spell of delay requires both vigilance and boldness. You must listen for every subtle form of postponement in your speech. "As soon as one day, when the time is right." Replace them all with the uncompromising present tense. It is here now. I have it now. I live in my abundance now. When the mind argues, asking for proof, give it none. Let the mind learn to trust the word over the appearance. This is not arrogance, it is obedience to the higher law. And there is another layer to this: action. Once you have spoken the now, act in accordance with it. If you declare your debt is paid, file the receipt in faith. If you declare your purchase is made, prepare the space for it. If you declare your income has increased, begin structuring your affairs as one who already receives that greater flow. These acts are not pretenses, they are tangible signs to the subconscious that you mean what you say. The longer you tolerate the language of delay, the longer delay will tolerate its place in your life. But the moment you reject it, root and branch, and enthrone the language of immediacy, the law will treat your decree as an order requiring swift execution. Then you will understand the power of the command Jesus taught. Believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. Believe you receive now, and you shall have now. We have arrived at the point toward which every truth in this message has been guiding you. The moment of activation, when you seal your word not only in your heart, but in the atmosphere of the seen world, leaving no room for retreat or reversal. This is not a casual step. It is the sacred contract between you and divine law, the public proclamation that your inner decree has been spoken, accepted, and set into motion. In all the demonstrations I have witnessed, my own and those of countless others, there is a marked increase in power when the word is not only spoken in the privacy of prayer, but also affirmed aloud and written as a visible, undeniable record. You are about to make such a record. The sentence I now give you is not born of my invention, but of the law itself, refined through years of practical demonstration. It carries the vibration of immediacy, the authority of divine right, and the precision the subconscious requires to execute your command without hesitation. Speak it now, as I speak it. I now step into my prepared wealth. It appears within 24 hours by divine law. Do not rush these words. Let them roll through you with the gravity of a verdict that has already been passed. The moment you utter them, you are aligning every fiber of your being with the reality they describe. You are not hoping for this to happen. You are confirming that it is already unfolding, and by the authority of the law, it must appear. Once you have spoken it aloud with full conviction, you must fix it in writing, not as a note to yourself, but as a public decree. Type these exact words, without alteration, in the space where this truth is shared. Consider it your signature upon the invisible covenant you have just formed. This is more than symbolic. It is the outer counterpart to the inner act, the visible seal that tells both your conscious mind and the law. This is settled. This is done. Divine law does not require public acknowledgement to function, but your own consciousness is strengthened by it, and your faith is multiplied when you stand openly in the truth. Why within 24 hours? Because faith flourishes in specificity, and the subconscious works with greater speed when given a defined frame of execution. You may be astonished at how swiftly the channels will open once the decree is both spoken and written. Some will see their manifestation arrive in the form of money itself. Others will see the first undeniable signs of its approach: calls returned, opportunities extended, accounts credited, unexpected channels revealed. Do not measure the demonstration by appearance alone. Measure it by the certainty you feel and the movement you witness. So I tell you now, stand in your authority. Speak the sentence. Write the sentence. Hold it as the banner over the next 24 hours of your life. Let no contrary word pass your lips. Let no doubt take root in your mind. Move through your day as one who has already stepped into the wealth prepared for them. And when the evidence arrives, as it surely will, return to affirm it, give thanks for it, and let it be the unshakable proof to you that divine law never fails the one who dares to speak and seal their word in faith. Now we gather every truth, every decree, every image we have planted throughout this message, and we bind them together into a final sequence of affirmations that will continue to work in you long after these words are finished. This is not the fading echo of a conclusion. It is the ringing of a great bell whose vibration will travel through every corner of your consciousness, sealing the changes we have made and anchoring your mind in the certainty of your supply. These affirmations are to be spoken slowly, with the full weight of belief behind each one. Let them drop into the depths of your being like stones into still water, sending ripples of truth into every layer of thought and feeling. First, the switch of my tongue is set to abundance, and the current of my supply flows without interruption. This recalls the image we began with, the tongue as the master control of your finances. Every time you speak, you are either turning on or cutting off the current. This affirmation declares that you have locked the switch in the on position, and nothing in heaven or earth can move it. Second, the table of my life is set before the feast, and my wealth takes its place. See the great table spread before you, not half prepared, not waiting for the cook to arrive, but fully laid with everything you have spoken into existence. This table is your preparation, and this affirmation calls your wealth to take its rightful seat at it now. Third, the river of my supply flows freely, and no stone of resistance remains in its path. This draws on the truth of non-resistance, the image of the river that will find its way to you as soon as you remove the stones of fear, anger, and doubt. With these words, you declare that the channel is clear and the flow is unstoppable. Fourth, the vault door of my abundance is open, and my wealth pours forth in perfect ways. Picture the heavy door swinging wide at your command, revealing a storehouse without end. The law does not creak open slowly. It responds to your decree with immediacy, and this affirmation fixes that image in your mind. Fifth, I am the fearless, faithful player of my financial game, and I always win. This is your final declaration of identity, the truth you will carry forward. You are no longer the hesitant observer of your finances. You are the masterful participant, playing by divine rules that guarantee victory. This is not wishful thinking, it is the law, and you have proved it here today. Speak these affirmations aloud now. Write them. Repeat them morning, midday, and night until they become the only financial vocabulary you know. Let them replace the language of lack entirely, so that even in idle conversation, your words align with truth. And as you do, watch how life bends to meet the pattern you have set. The current will not slow, the feast will not be withdrawn, the river will not dry up, the vault will not close, and your victory will not fade. For you have spoken as one with authority, and by divine law it is so.